Hello and welcome back to the Miracle Minded Podcast. This is Nicole Sylvester, your host and also spiritual transformation coach. And truly, I'm a woman that refuses to give up. And that's what this message is about today. It's about really tapping in to that part of you that knows that you're meant for more, that you're made for more, and that you get to uncover that. Like, that is your responsibility. That's how I live. That's what I've been living in. And I want to share a story of when my faith was tested. Before I do, I want to ask you a question and just take a moment, whether you are sitting at home listening to this, relaxing in your pajamas. I do that sometimes. Whether you are driving in the car, doing your thing, running errands, wherever you are, I just want you to take a moment to receive this question. Feel it and pinpoint when it may have happened to you. I'm feeling, because you're human, that it's likely happened to you, if not many times, but I want you to tune into one time. When has your faith been tested? When have you lost faith? I know people who have lost faith for years. After a big loss, after a big disappointment, after a big world event. I know people that have lost faith momentarily for a few days, a few weeks, a few months. And what I want to share with you today is a story of my own personal journey and what it really revealed to me and how it has brought forward a gift and something I'm going to share with my community. Because this is how I believe life works. That life is guiding us through lessons, helping us see differently, helping us reveal the places where we may have been unable to see. Maybe it was in a blind spot of ours. Like, this information is constantly being revealed to us. And if we move through life like this, we have a different experience. Now, this requires so much willingness and so much awareness. Like, we got to keep ourselves in the game, because the reality is, and I see this all over and I can feel it in the energy of people, when people close their heart, when they don't believe a thing is possible. They might keep their business open, but they are like one pinky toe in. They don't really show up for it. They might share content, but they're not really selling anything. They're not really backing the things that they're doing. And this is not a judgment. This is me knowing, like, I've been there. This is part of the entrepreneurial journey. And the entrepreneurial journey is like a spiritual gauntlet. It's like a spiritual smackdown at times. But really, it's a strengthening space, you know? And even beyond the entrepreneurial journey, because there's different facets and layers to that, the journey of rewriting your money beliefs and having money faith after you have grown up and spent even any of your adulthood believing otherwise, it is a journey that will test you, that will stretch you, that will require you to be different. And we have to understand that that metamorphosis can be messy sometimes. You might cry, you might sweat, you might have a little loss. There's things that you learn along the way. But if you're not mindful, all of these things can make you lose faith. And I've seen some people close their heart permanently. I see some people that their heart has been closed or half-hearted for years. And you hear stories about this in different books, on different podcasts from different leaders. Maybe you know someone that you're like, yeah, after that time, after that bankruptcy, after that loss, after that failed launch, after they gave it a really big go, after that big investment, after they had that court situation, after they had that health crisis, after the pandemic came, all of these things, after the divorce, after the breakup, all of these things can lead us to close our hearts. And I know, because I lived lots of my life with a closed heart, where fear led me, where worry led me, where I was in this place of feeling powerless. And what I've learned is that the light is always here. But sometimes that light is like bing, readily available. Like you wake up and you feel it. And then there are times that I have felt that I really have to look hard. And I want to be honest about that with you, because I know that in the world of these things, it can be very much like, just decide, change your mind. It's easy. Let it be easy. And sometimes it is very much. But you have to understand that we're all coming from different places. Me personally, I'm not coming from, a middle-class family that just struggled a lot. I'm coming from a family that was living at poverty level a lot of the times. And that continued to be there. That to this day, they're still there. And for me to move through that at times, it feels like really, really challenging, really heavy. And then there's times where I'm like, this is a fucking breeze. This is just who I am. This is just everything. Like, duh, this is, of course. And that's been my journey. So I want to tell you the truth about it, because if I don't tell you the truth about it, you might think there's something wrong with you when you find yourself in a season of like faith being tested. And this is the reality, that it is a practice. It is a muscle, and you have to work it all the time. This is not just a do one thing, read one book, try one time, give it a big go, and then give up. This is like find your faith again. So I want to introduce something to you before I tell you this personal story that's just going to back everything that we're doing in this event. I'm hosting a 3-day free masterclass experience. We are really going to touch on mindset. We're going to work with nervous system. We're going to generate big feelings and big money faith. We're going to do all of this together for 3 days, and we are going to go deep. And this is a brand new money teaching and money training that I've never done before. And you know where it was revealed to me? When I was on the other side of having my faith tested. So it was like from that test, this gift was born. And that's the alchemy that we all hold, if we're willing to see it that way. So here's what you need to know. Money faith is happening. It's happening on February 13th, February 14th, and February 15th. Yes, it's on Valentine's Day. And if you are really wanting to lean into something different for just a way of loving yourself on this day, and loving your family, and loving your partner, and loving everyone around you, taking this free masterclass is something that's going to change your energy, change your mindset, and change your life. I will promise that to you. If you show up and you do these practices, it is going to change your life. And on that note, if you want to take a moment and pause this and send this out to 3 people that you love and just say, let's do this together. Let's do this together. We have nothing to lose. It's free. You're going to feel elevated energy. You're going to see yourself differently. You're going to see your money differently. And you're going to have this energy that feels like things are possible. Big things are possible. Like, let me open up my mind again, because there's something even bigger here than I thought. That's the energy that we're bringing. So let me tell you about the place that I found myself in that led me to this place of creating this for you. It was just an interesting time. So let me just tell you this. I had stacked disappointments. So I'm a person that like one disappointment comes and I'm like, okay, well, let's not make it mean too much. Okay, another one's coming. Oh, okay. Like, is life trying to get my attention? Like, what's going on? But then when it's just stacked and stacked and stacked, and then my energy was really off because I was dealing with heavy inflammation in my body. My body was creating this toxic amino acid, and it was affecting my mind. It was affecting my energy. I was becoming hypersensitive. I was like, am I autistic? Like, what's going on? And I don't say that lightly. I was really talking to my doctor, like, what is happening here? Because I'm too sensitive right now. Like, this doesn't feel good. I can feel everything. So I'm in this space, and in this space, it's testing my belief and my relationship with what I believe is possible. Because I felt like I did everything, stretched myself to the point of having that big belief in myself. I feel like I showed up to the universe and said, Look at how willing I am. My belief is big. Meet me here. And the interesting thing is that life met me with the information of sit down, stay put, rest. And it was like everything was falling apart. And then finally, when I surrendered to it, I realized that like, oh, this other life, this way I was living was not of my highest good. There's a new way, an easier way, a better way, a more fulfilling way, a more at peace way, and a more aligned way. But before I got to that revelation of like, there's a more aligned way, like all is well, my money faith was tested. And not only my money faith, my faith in general was tested. It was what people will call a dark night of the soul. It was a period of feeling disconnected from my connection to source and my knowingness. I described it in a post that I made recently that if you know those movies where the superhero like loses their wand or loses their cape or loses their, golden badge on their chest or their, special magic whatever earring, they lose this thing, and in that they become vulnerable to the 3D reality. They're not as tapped into those superpowers, limitless in that way. And I have to tell you that I've just felt limitless in a lot of ways. Like for the things that I couldn't immediately have, it felt like, well, if I desire it, I can have it. And I just had this belief about money that put me in a reality that I know is not the norm. Like it is far from the norm. And it's good because it's taking me from deep money suffering to or I shouldn't say deep, but like expansive money reality. And it let me see a whole different side of life. And it's been phenomenal. But in that period of time, I felt something else. And when I felt that, I knew that when I was feeling it, it was getting me in touch with what so many other people feel all the time. And it really reminded me of what I used to feel back in 2016 when I couldn't afford things. And not only that, when I just felt like, will it happen? And I had to start believing like, of course it will. So that's the thing about the money faith, is it is a level of consciousness. It is something that we have to find in consciousness. It's something that we have to tune ourselves to. And there are times in our life where we have to dig back in willingly. We have to tap back in. We have to be like, I am willing, like put me back in. And at times we may have to surrender our beliefs. We have to surrender some things. So I don't want to go too deep into that because I have a whole 3-day program that is free that we're going to go deep into these things. But what I want you to know is that what I found in that window of time, that was like November, I felt like I could see the heaviness. I could sense, I experienced the heaviness of the conversations that are out there for money. Like the conversations about what to do if you find yourself in too much debt. If the conversations of what to do when you find that you're not making enough. The conversations, a lot of them, the mainstream ones, are very depressing to me. And I'll tell you why. And I invite you, if this is like triggering because you relate to some of them, I invite you to stay tuned and just listen to what I'm about to say. Because if I never listened to what I'm about to say, and if I never allowed myself to go deeper into what's possible, I would have never reached where I am now. I would have never experienced what I've experienced now with my money reality and my faith. And that is that so much of life in the mainstream media is very 3D to 3D. Matter to matter. You don't have to know what the hell 3D even means, but it's matter to matter. If you want to have more money, you have to do this. If you want to get to retirement and be good, you better do A, B, C. If you want to pay off your debt, then you need to do this. And life's going to look like this until then. And when they say what life is going to look like, it feels sad. And now, here's the thing. It doesn't feel like living. It doesn't feel like living. And still, it's because it's not spirit to matter to spirit. It's not the spirit and matter combination. It's just matter to matter. Like, let's look at what is. Let's focus on what we know is possible. Let's focus on what we know how to create in this now moment. We're not going to open up to any fantasy world. We're not going to open up to any possibilities. We're not going to do any silly stuff. We're just going to be very matter to matter. And matter to matter is a very limiting way of focusing on our money. If I was only matter to matter, what I would have done back when I was working my part-time job and when I was working on my business and I had support from financial assistance from the government so I could get food, aka I was on welfare, and I was barely getting by with this job and with all of that. And if I just took the advice of matter to matter advice, which we're going to hear about, I would have never gotten to where I ended up. What I would have done is bought very minimal food, barely said yes to anything ever. I would have felt so limited and trapped that I didn't have the big energy to work my business. And then someday down the road, I might have saved $3,000. It would have been struggle, strife, hard. And I'm not about that. And I don't want you to be about that if you don't want to be. And if that feels good to you, that you want to be there, then I will not tell you it's wrong. And in fact, it's not wrong. It's one way of doing it. But I want to invite you to explore a different way of doing it, a different way of being. And it requires you to see differently. It requires you to be willing. It requires you to open up to this idea of matter and spirit. And I can't wait to drop into this and really go deep with this with you. But what I want to say too, is just going over some of the things, is when I was in that period, and it was like I tuned to a different radio station. So my frequency changed. And when my frequency changed, I started picking up on other conversations. I started seeing other things in my reality. I started noticing different kinds of books, different kinds of teachers, different kinds of conversations that were in the mainstream. And I was like, wow, this is affirming the importance of my work. And really beyond my work, like what I know, what I figured out, what I found on my journey. It's important because I was a woman, and I still am a woman, that really wants to live in this lifetime. Like really live. Like I don't want to put things on this bucket list that I don't get to do until I'm 50. I don't want to put this time off for things that are really incredible with the people I love. I want to do it soon. I want to do that and then do something else that calls to me. And we have to get to know our money values. We have to get to know our money priorities, and we have to get to know what's true for us, because we're all unique in that way. And we're going to talk about this in the Money Faith experience. Because when you get to know these things and you give yourself radical permission here, it becomes like a floodgate opening. So nevertheless, while I found myself in that place, I found my way back. I found my way back because I had the tools. It's like a muscle. It's like muscle memory. I hear people that are gym rats, they're, the people that work out a lot, and then they have something happen, whether it's an injury or they go on some sort of trip. And when they do that, they go back to the gym and they're like, oh yeah, I'm back to where I was. It was muscle memory. This is like that with our faith. If you cultivate a truly profound money faith, if you cultivate this big belief, it's there. You might lose it for a moment, but this is the thing, this is why it's so important to just keep going. So we're going to talk about a lot of this. We're going to talk about so much of this. We're going to go deeper. I'm going to give you assignments. I'm running this 3-day program like it's a paid program. Come to it and get what you need from it, and just pretend that you paid $1,000 for it. Because what I'm going to give to you in that 3 days is going to be like you paid $1,000 for it. And if you put the things into action and you do what I share and you keep exploring it and deepening with it, what you're going to experience is 10x on that $1,000 imaginary investment. Because it's free. It's free. It's free. It's free. So, my friends, join me. If you are joining, I want to give you a heads up that you will receive an email from me. I've never done this before, but I put a brief few questions that I'm asking everyone that is joining in on this 3-day event with me, because I want to know how I can personally help you. I want to know what personally keeps you feeling limited, what personally feels you keep feeling kind of funky, what personally like you are coming for. Like, what are you coming to say yes to? What are you coming to expand into? What is there for you? Show me both sides, because if you do, it helps me tune into how I can help you the most in these 3 days. This is a year. This is a big year for many of us. And in what the mainstream is talking about right now, which is a lot of lack energy and a lot of limitation energy, the reality is that in this season, there's going to be people that thrive. There's going to be people that thrive. And what I'm intending for us is that all of us that are in this money faith, we're going to thrive. We're going to be those stories. We're going to be those demonstrations. And the world needs more demonstrations of this. So I cannot wait. Take a moment, share this with 3 people. Share it on your Instagram stories. If you do, tag me. I would be so grateful and appreciative. Before I sat down to do this, I did a prayer to just intend that as many people that need this message get it. Because the thing I want you to know about our money stories is they can make us sick. They can keep us unsettling. They can keep us disconnected from the kind of reality that we know deep down that we're meant to live. And we put it off into the future. For some reason, we think we're unworthy. We think we made poor choices. We think that we messed up. And it's just not true. So let's tap in together. I can't wait for this experience, February 13th, 14th, and 15th. The replays will go out. They'll be available for a limited time. But if you sign up, you'll get all 3 replays. And they're going to be available for those days. So my friends, I will see you there. I cannot wait. And I have some really beautiful episodes coming up. Some interviews, some time that I'm sitting down with other people that to me are the embodiment of miracle-minded living, and that are showing up for their calling, for their work, for their willingness to create new patterns, not only for themselves, but for the people closest to them, and to be a demonstration to all. So I can't wait to share all of that. I'm sending you so much love, and I cannot wait for us to gather in this big energy of money faith. The link is in the show notes. Go down there and check it out. Get in, and then be sure to check your email. If it's not in your inbox, go ahead and check your spam. And if there's any questions, reach out to support@NicoleSylvester.com. My friends, I will see you. Until then, let's cultivate that money faith and faith all around. See you soon.